Okay, this is session 1 of World of Dungeons Seclusium. I'm going to go through the cats. Concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. Concept, World of Dungeons, of course, is a deconstructed retro version of Dungeon World. We've all here played it a bunch, and so I'm not going to go any more into that. The Seclusium adventure is built partially using Vincent Baker's The Seclusium of Orphone of the Three Visions, which is a Lamentations of the Flame Princess supplement. That is just kind of the beginning, though. There's a lot more to it than that. This is actually the culmination of a number of adventures that preceded it, connected to Philip's character, Vorus. Throughout all of his various adventures, he has made a constant reference to wanting to find this seclusium that he believes exists somewhere on his family's lands. A seclusium, in our parlance here, it's a wizard's lair, okay? But it's a wizard's lair that is currently unattended in some way. Either the wizard is absent or is dead or is in stasis or something. And so it is vulnerable in some way. And so the idea is, adventuring parties and whatnot go into these seclusiums, deal with whatever guardians or traps are there and come out. Classic sort of like location-based wizard's tower kind of thing. But the Seclusium book lets you, it really gets away from that classic tropey wizard's tower idea and changes it and rearranges it all kinds of different possible things. So our particular adventure is going to be we're going to be telling those sort of like parallel stories, like Vorus's family, their connection to this possible Seclusium, and so forth. The aim of today is we are going to introduce characters after I'm done with cats. After we introduce characters, we're going to take a break then, because the first in medias res thing is pretty extended. And so I want to take a short break before that, do that sequence, which I think will be a little bit longer than a normal in medias res. And then I will tell you kind of the adventure, so to speak. I will ask you some establishing questions so that you guys can personalize the adventure in some way. After I've asked the establishing questions, we'll then take a proper break of about 10 minutes where you guys can think about the answers to the establishing questions. We'll come back and then we'll play the adventure proper. So I don't think we're going to get to the actual Seclusium part until next week. This week, I'm reserving for basically just kind of catching back up on these characters who we haven't seen in a while. And in Kaylin's case, Christo's character, we haven't seen in a good long while. So this will be kind of a sort of semi getting to know you session. Tone is going to be dark because Jason, and also because that's how I've set it up. Subject matter wise, this is the important bit. I intend for this, in my mind anyway, I think this is going to be pretty intense horror stuff. I would like to go to some pretty intense places as far as the horror goes. And again, that might be next week. But just to give you guys a sense of like how I'm thinking about this, my hope, if I'm successful, is it will be a sort of homoerotic Bluebeard's Bride. Okay, that's my big plan for this. We're talking pretty intense sadomasochistic stuff. We're talking about some pretty wild and bizarre homoeroticism and lots of Bluebeard's Bride level of haunted house kind of horror. Okay, I will just say that the X card's on the table. Feel free to use it whenever you wish. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and if it gets X carded, that's fine. It's not the end of the world for me. So X card, you guys know how it works. Just know that it is available, and we'll do that. We'll avoid the normal sorts of things like no sexual assault, no on-screen violence towards children, that kind of thing, right? Does anybody have any questions about cats? Okie doke. In that case, let's go ahead and introduce characters. I'm going to go in the order of the Google Sheet, which is David. Tell us about Osmodeus, please.
So Osmodeus is a wizard who spent a lot of time in the city of Belet Osk. That's where we were introduced to him. So his sanity was challenged while he was in that setting. But when we saw him leave, and it was very briefly that we saw him away from there, he seemed to have reverted to a more sane kind of person. But nevertheless, his type of magic, the kind of thing that he is trying to harness energy from, is like not what you would normally think of using or gaining powers from. He is a vegan wizard. He's trying to replicate all of the rituals that a normal wizard would do, but using plants instead of living like animal tissue. So his flags, one is be annoyed when I have to stop and do elaborate time-consuming magic. And just based on how you've described this setting and this adventure, I'm going to be writing a second flag, something to the tune of like, encourage me to try and use more efficient magics or something like that.
I like that. That's good. Awesome. Thank you. I don't have any other questions, but if anybody else does, just jump in. Okay, Christo.
What does he look like?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. What does Osmodeus look like? I feel like I never got that down in my mind's eye.
Yeah, I don't think that I ever gave much of a description for him, but
we're going to actually do, as part of my opening sequence, we're going to do tell me what you look like. So
okay.
Yeah,
well, I'll hold off to that.
Okie doke. Christo, tell us about Kalen, please.
Kalen was the last surfer dude I have played. I haven't played any since. So Kalen is a cleric.
Lies. I don't believe you. Lies. All lies.
I haven't actually. I was thinking about it. I haven't. I sort of gave up on that trope. He is the cleric of Freya, which is the goddess of life. So their gender is whatever it needs to be, basically, or whatever they want it to be. Kalen is himself male, him. He has gorgeous hair. That's like his big attribute. Evidently. Sort of aligns with the last situation because Scenic Dunsmith didn't end well. And off, I think, half of the villagers, which seems to be one of the trends I have when I play in Jason's games. So
yeah, it's a rare adventure that you guys kind of lost. So in a way.
Yeah, epilogue though, where Kalen was basically trying to redeem himself by going into some temple, but we don't know how that played out. But what we do know from seeing him now is that he definitely has tired almost all the time because he's been having nightmares. Probably about spiders. What else did I have? So the flags that he has right now are something exciting to make me feel alive, to distract me from my nightmares, my divine powers.
Interesting. I have a question. What is your just remind us what are the basic tenets of your faith?
Freya is the goddess of life. God of life. It varies. And so it like is about
Freya. Is that how that goes? Okay, got it.
So it's everything's life is good. Everything is. It's fighting against the natural order is something that Freya would be concerned about. Everything else is on the table. What does it mean? It's life is good. Life is what it is. Life moves forward. Life will find a way.
Awesome, thank you. All right, interesting to hear about those like changes in your personality. I think that'll be interesting to explore quite a bit. I actually think that'd be a great flag, honestly, like a sort of I guess the nightmare one's kind of is in key with that, but I also like the idea of like just someone who used to know you maybe being like, hey, you seem a little different or something, right? So,
wink wink for us.
Right, yeah. Cool, let's keep going. Thank you for that. All right, Jennifer, tell us about the inevitable, incorrigible moon poison.
Yeah, so moon poison wolf crystal is a slightly mad um, uh, resident of Belet Osk who is a revolutionary and an artist, um, and she has been on this journey to try and overthrow the Hex King, who had taken over, who had ruled Belet Osk for much of her life, and then uh, and then through her actions has gained a foothold in taking over Vornheim. And so um, recently she went on a pilgrimage to try and get some assistance, but she wound up realizing her obsession was kind of uh, was really kind of like driving her to the depths of depravity, where she was trying to make a deal with a dragon, and um, and then she realized she was way over her head and flew away on an owl. Um, so she's I think she's a little sheepish now, and she's kind of tracked down Vorus and Osmodeus, partially because they're, the closest things they know what happened, and they're her friends, and and with her Blood Lily Situationist syndicate back in Belet Osk kind of divided and kind of torn apart. She doesn't really have anywhere to go, so she's kind of tracked down her old friends. So yeah, and her flags are treat me poorly due to my appearance, behavior, or heritage, because I'm a dumpster gnome, and then um, participate in wild scheme when we're in a pinch. So
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. All right. And finally, Philip, please tell us about Vorus Malabroja.
Yes. He is a fancy stashed, prime bodied, aristocratic, arrogant, asshole ranger guy. Yeah, so he is from a aristocratic family that kind of rules over, I feel like, this land that we're in right now.
I'm going to retcon that
right?
for you a little bit, over some
Okay.
lands that you're going to be in soon. Yeah.
oh, there we go.
I've got all those details for you. Don't worry about that too much.
Yeah. So yeah, he's from this family, but he's not from the like secret core of the family that gets access to all the magic goodness. He's like way down in the line of children, because they had many children, and he's not even close to being firstborn. So he's like kept out of all the secret culty stuff his family does, behind closed doors. And so the thing is, he's always wanted in on that. Even though it's probably evil as fuck. He doesn't like being left out, and he's kind of become twisted in his own way, trying to qualify himself for the real family, So he was at Belet Osk, and he was also at Dunsmouth, and Dunsmouth, was twisted, but in his own weird way, he kind of made it out more or less the same amount of sane that he was before. probably just because he was so twisted that nothing there traumatized him. But what did change him was Bellet Osk. In Bellet Osk, he saw the Hex King, who was someone who was very like him in a lot of ways. You know, someone who did whatever it took to get power and accepted whatever consequences. And something clicked in Voris's mind that he does have a limit to what he's willing to sacrifice to get power. Like he could never become the Hex King. At least he doesn't feel like he has it in him to do that. So that's all.
What are your
Oh, I have a
flags?
horse now. I have a horse now.
What are your flags?
Ask me for illicit services from my pet, and I feel like that could be either my
Hopefully not
slime
your horse.
or or my fire drake, or my horse. I don't know. And then I've got treat me like I'm an authority, so I can abuse it. So, yeah, those are both the classic ones for him. So, I have a question for you, Jason.
Go for it.
How much has my fire drake grown?
I would say it's probably like the size of a. I think it's still like fairly small. Maybe like a medium-sized dog.
Okay.
Okie doke. Fabulous. All right. So we are going to take a 5-minute break. We're starting off in Vornheim. See you in 5. Guess we're waiting on Philip and Jennifer. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
I added another flag that might be more interesting.
What is it?
Challenge me to redeem myself for what I've done.
Ooh, I like that. That's good.
I think that's better than the first one. Take away the nightmares. He has them, but that's not what the flag is.
Well, I think even in tandem with that, I think it would be a legit hit of that flag to actually ask you like what happened, particularly Osmodeus and Moon Poison, right? Who weren't in Dunsmith. So.
And what is a dumpster gnome?
Revolutionaries.
Is that what it is?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly what it sounds like, a gnome that comes from a dumpster, I think.
Specifically the dumpsters of Belet Osk. But they are well, at least our dumpster gnome is a revolutionary.
So Belet Osk has an advanced sanitary collection.
I don't know. Sanitary is not a word I would ever apply to Belet Osk. It does not fit.
No, no, it's mostly just like, like it's a gnome that lives on the streets and is kind of it's more of a pejorative term for like the gnomes that live in the slums of Belet Osk. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't actually live in a dumpster.
I mean, we live in maybe the landfill areas, like the Hob Pit or what have you. The various slums and places where other mad folk will just take their garbage and pile it on top of our houses. And so,
yeah, Belet Osk, in case you didn't know, Christo, is it's a city that is an asylum. So it's an asylum city. All right. And Philip says he's here a bit off screen. Okay, cool. So, all right. You're all set. A little bit of backstory. This first sequence is going to be in the great city of Vornheim, high in the northern mountains, cold city, right? But a great city. Some backdrop, what's been going on in Vornheim most recently. The burgomaster of Vornheim, which is kind of a sort of mayoral position, the burgomaster of Vornheim has just led a successful campaign to wrench the city free of the influence of the dreary Lord Telebsko. It culminated in a battle between a coalition of bravos calling themselves the Rooster Rowdies on account they wore fabulously feathered headpieces as an act of defiance against the dour dictates of Lord Sko. The burgomaster met Lord Sko's forces on the field of battle, and though many Rooster Rowdies were lost, the burgomaster was victorious. The city has been in a state of celebration for several weeks now, honoring the sacrifice of the Rowdies with song and drink. You all are, as part of this ongoing celebration, are attending a command performance of an opera. This opera is being held at an opera called the Merry Abattoir, so named because, kind of like London's old Grand Guignol Opera House, all the shows they put on at the Merry Abattoir feature bloody plot lines, lots of practical effects on stage of people being eviscerated and having their heads chopped off and all that kind of stuff. Just really bloody productions, right? This command performance is of an opera called The Clockmaker's Daughter. Now, the burgomaster of Vornheim has requested this performance as a celebration, continuing the celebration of his victory over Lord Sko, and he is in attendance. You are all in attendance. Before we begin, I need to know, well, actually, let me back up. Let's paint the scene first. The Merry Abattoir is a place where both the rich and the poor gather for a night's grim entertainment. As you're settling in for the first act, what do you see that is a reminder that this is one of the few places in the city where the upper class and the lower class of Vornheim meet. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I think that maybe there's like a higher level of like balconies and like just kind of like an area that is sort of VIP. But you know, like everyone has to use the same, you know, restroom sort of thing. The same outhouse.
The same water closets, the same outhouse.
Yeah.
Good. What else? Class mingling.
So one thing is, this is one, like, I mean, because of how, like, there are sumptuary laws in Vornheim, and but at the Merry Abattoir, like there is a very strict classless dress code, and so like pretty much everyone is wearing the same thing. They might have, you know, adornments and embellishments, you know, to kind of vaguely indicate their status. But for the most part, everyone is wearing fairly drab and cheap clothing, so as to kind of level the playing field. And it's masquerade-esque without the masks. So.
And indeed, when the front row gets soaked with fake blood, your nice clothes did not get damaged, right? So awesome. Osmodeus, what about you?
I think some of the more entrepreneurial spirits try and sell red wine at these, but they never list their price. So it's a constant sizing up when they are dealing with a customer about can they discern their station and charge more money or not.
Nice. And Kaylin?
I'd like to say there's sort of this game, if you will, of the rich, that they buy a ticket for themselves and one ticket for somebody from the lower classes, as sort of it gives the impression that they care, even though they don't really. But I think that goes in well with the whole mingling and why there's both maybe a good representation of both the rich and the poor here, or the rich and the middle class, whatever the breakdown is.
It's sort of weirdly ironic in its way, because they're doing this charitable act to go watch a performance of a very bloody, gruesome.
Well, this is right, because this really wouldn't be their thing, right? They would want something higher class, but you know, for this good cause, they'll
right.
go to this.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Although we all know that they actually really like it.
Yeah. Well, it dovetails nicely with what Moon Poison said too, of like, well, we're going to dress simply, right, so we can mix in. When in fact, they just want to get their nice clothes sprayed with blood, right?
Hey, can I bounce off of Moon Poison a little bit too, or Jennifer? Yeah, I like the idea that the VIP access area I talked about is actually where they send people who have blown their cover.
It's the room of shame. Is that what it is?
And if you're up there, it's like so far away from the stage that you have to have like binoculars or a spyglass or something just to see. And yeah, I like that. I think that it's like she said no masks, but maybe there are some people who do have masks because they're trying really hard not to get sent up to the VIP area.
Or maybe they sometimes wear masks because this might be a way for them to do things that they're not allowed to do.
That's true too. Yeah.
Indeed. I love all that. Thank you. The Clockmaker's Daughter. We're going to talk about that performance. Where are you all situated in the theater? Did you guys get, are you like down, are you down in orchestra? Are you fifth row center, best seats? Are you, worst seats, back at the lower floor? Are you in pretty good seats, like up on the balcony? Do you have the best seats in a box? What do you guys think?
I think Kalen's backstage. I think he actually, I think he actually knows somebody in the performance.
Oh, okay. As long as you can see the play, that's important. But
right. But so he could be like behind the curtains to the side, like stage left. So trying to stay out of the way and maybe helping a little bit, but he knows one of the actors, and the actor invited him along because Kalen's so glum, something to brighten it up.
Perfect. I love it. Where are you situated, Asmodeus?
I think that I got good seats, but I don't blend in quite right. I didn't know that was like as important as everyone says that it was, thrown into the VIP section or whatever.
Good seats. Is that box, orchestra?
No, like middle, front.
Oh, fifth row center. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Are you saying that they don't have drab clothing for people that come overdressed? They give out like really high class restaurants used to do that. They might have like a jacket and a tie that they would give a person that came in that wasn't dressed appropriately.
Yeah, they may have tried that, but I don't think that it worked for some reason. Like I think my robes are they're just too big, and so stuffing myself into this little black smock or whatever, like my robes are still like sticking out.
I like the idea of these looking like butcher's aprons just because it's called the Merry Abattoir. That could be fun. Fantastic. Voris, where are your seats?
Voris is probably in a box. I think he's wearing one of those masks. And I think that he's wearing the butcher's apron and like nothing else. He's got his pack next to him. And I think he's got some wine maybe, or he's looking to get some wine and trying to talk up the other people in the box who he presumes have influence since they're able to afford these seats. Yeah. He's trying to be real smooth.
Awesome. And Moon Poison, where do we find you?
So I just have a quick question. Why are we here again?
To celebrate the success of the Burgomaster of Vornheim over the forces of Lord Telebsko.
And what was the name of the group that with the plumage that defeated him or pushed him out?
The Rooster Rowdies. Yeah.
The Rooster Rowdies?
Okay. So I think I'm with Voris, and I like my typical garb, right, is this leather jacket and my bright yellow skin and big purple hair, but instead I have like a large like gray smock on, like off-white gray smock, and I'm wearing my owlbear skull helmet because I am terrified that someone's going to recognize me and turn me into the Hex King, because we're in fucking Vornheim, and I'm just like, I'm constantly looking behind my back and kind of like hiding behind Voris's pretty much naked body. I'm just like, Voris, why the fuck are we here? This is not good.
Awesome. The Clockmaker's Daughter, our performance for the evening. It's about a clockmaker whose 17-year-old daughter uses his diagrams and notes at night to develop a theory of interdimensional travel. Her research causes her to open up a rift to another dimension where she has adventures. It is a musical in 3 acts. The star of the show is Velgna Humpel, a fabulously overweight, middle-aged soprano who the costumers and makeup artists have made a heroic, if somewhat unsuccessful, attempt to make look like a 17-year-old girl. Like all shows of the Merry Abattoir, it is very bloody. Kaylin, you're backstage.
Mhm.
The best view of the set. How is the set decorated? The main set for the Clockmaker's Daughter. What does it look like?
So what is the first scene, I guess, is what I'd be curious about. I'm assuming that the first
You
scene is
could-
probably
you-
the setup in the Clockmaker's Daughter.
Yeah,
Is
you
she
can,
like a
you can
tower?
riff off the Clockmaker and all that stuff. Yeah, the
Right.
interdimensional travel.
So she's probably like up in a clock tower then, like with a clock working, spinning there. So they probably got some gears and stuff like that. That we have people under the stage that are turning, and they're making slight clicking noises, except whenever somebody's singing or talking, and then it suddenly goes quiet somehow. And probably has backdrops, and it looks like it probably has a city scene in the background with lots of smokestacks and stuff like that going up. If we're saying we're sort of steampunk industrial.
Perfect. Moon Poison. What do you call that bit of music that summarizes all the movements of the score? But it's in the beginning. The
Overture?
overture. Yeah, the overture is starting. Right. We see the curtain rises, and we see all those this mechanical gear work background. Right. Very intricately done. Moon Poison. You're feeling really, really uncomfortable, as you previously noted. What about your body or about the air around you is making you feel uncomfortable? How do you know you're uncomfortable?
It's like I feel a sort of like cold breeze at all times, and I'm just shivering, but also like sweating, and so I'm just it's just like I've got cold, clammy, sweaty skin, and I'm just like I'm terrified, and out of the corner of my eye, like every time I look, I think I see like a green flame, and so I'm just like what, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
But then when I look, it's not there. It's just in the
Nice.
corner of my eye, and I keep like, and I keep kind of to my little swan skull that I have. I'm like, stay away from me, stay away from me, stay away from me, stay away from me.
Voris, the first act proceeds very much like I've described. Clockmaker's Daughter. She's very smart. She creates a device that lets her travel between dimensions. Near the end of Act 1, the Clockmaker's Daughter makes contact with a strange otherworldly society. This strange otherworldly society she contacts, what makes them so strange?
They have I think they have gold skin, and they're adorned with strands of gems and maybe like gold accessories, like gold kind of like coins they've got made into like skirts and loincloths and things.
Awesome. Act 1 is over. It moves right into Act 2. Moon Poison, your sense of dread is heightening. How do you know?
So like the music that I hear from from the orchestra like begins to have this almost cackling tone, and I'm like they're laughing at me, they're laughing at me, and it's just like it's all very traditional Vornheim music. It's like really buzzy sitars and powerful brass instrumentation, but it freaks me out, and I'm yanking on Voris's apron, and I'm just like I like art as much as the next guy, but this is Warnheim, man. Why'd
Be
you bring me
quiet
here?
and sit down. Where is that wine?
Very good, very good. Act 2. Asmodeus, Act 2 ends just before the extended intermission before Act 3. And like all shows at the Abattoir, Act 2 ends in a particularly violent and bloody way with lots of grotesque practical effects. A sort of send-off before intermission, right? Get people's blood up. Describe the scene and its bloodiness.
So the 17-year-old daughter has been discovering that this place that she is in fact has people that she knows and would recognize, except they are gold and adorned. So it's like a mirror dimension, but with this strange alteration. And she finds herself, and in a fit of jealousy and rage, destroys this world's version of her. So they find another large person, paint them gold, and the two of them go at it very, very violently. I think that they intentionally both characters get hurt, and the original 17-year-old just has bright red scarlet blood that goes flying over the audience, and the gold one has appropriately gold blood that goes flying, and it is obvious that there's far more gold blood being spilled and just running off the edge of the stage, in a fountain that they are collecting and pushing back through, and so it's spraying up and then running over the edge of the stage.
This whole show feels like a really intense metaphor for personal identity in a capitalistic society or something, right? So there's a message here, I'm sure.
Yeah. They also throw coin at the audience, so that didn't help anything.
Intermission. Moon Poison, you are really, really feeling bad about this show right now. You've had a bad feeling ever since you came back to Vornheim, despite how jubilant and celebratory it all is, right? But you guys have got 15 minutes to kill. What do you do?
I don't know. I'm kind of fed up with lack of sympathy, so I go out and I'm trying to find Asmodeus, because I know I know he's here and he can afford the nice seats, and I'm just I go down and I'm like, oh man, and I'm just I just kind of pace in front of Asmodeus while drinking wine, and occasionally I'll look at him like I'm about to say something, and then I don't.
And I'm just I think I'm kind of a little bit oblivious, and I'm just you look like one of the gold people. Are you from the other side? Is that where your dumpster gnomes actually come from?
Don't tell anyone who I am.
I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that you were a traveler. How did you do it?
No, not like that. No, the real me, not this. This is fiction. There are no clocks.
I'm confused. I came here to try and figure out how this traveling thing worked. And now you're really just leading me in all kinds of directions. If you're not agitated because you're afraid of getting discovered for being a traveler, I don't understand why you're so worked up about.
Remember the last time we were together? And my arch nemesis took over the city. Remember? Do you see green fire over there?
And I look, and I'm like, no, I don't see any green fire. And if I'm being very frank, I don't remember much of what we did last time I was with you. It's all a very, very big haze.
Just don't tell anyone that I'm from Beladosk.
Okay.
The big BO.
I think they could smell it on you, but
I showered last month. Be quiet.
I know, every month, whether you need it or not.
I cut to Kaylin. Kaylin, you're in the back. Tell me about your friend who works in production.
He's the engineer in charge of blood. So he does all the blood fountains, the blood spewings, all the pumps and stuff like that. He doesn't necessarily do all the pumping and whatnot, but he's the one that makes sure it's all working. So he's running around checking to make sure that all the gold stuff is being pumped back properly and not mixing with the red blood. It's a very complicated process, actually. So that's what he does. And so the only chance I'd really get to see him is not even during intermission, because he's going to be going off, taking care and, setting up for the next act.
What are you doing during intermission then?
I'm going to go out and get a glass of wine or a bottle of wine, because this is all, it's all sort of interesting, but Kaylin finds life a lot more interesting. This is all sort of grotesque, maybe, but
artificial and grotesque are great.
Yeah, and that's, and he's he's seen quite a lot of things worth it. So it's a little distracting, very colorful. So he likes that and he appreciates it, but it's mainly for his friend. So I think he's going to go out, get a glass of wine, and did Voris go out and get some wine?
Voris is demanding wine.
Yeah, I think Voris got tired of waiting in the box, so he went out and probably found the same wine guy that you were looking for, and on his way to get the wine, since he's wearing no clothes, he was getting slapped and groped and stuff, so he's got all this gold handprints all over him. But he's talking to the wine guy, trying to get some wine now.
And so I think you'll hear Kaylin come up behind you and say, "Oh, dude, I'd recognize that ass anywhere."
Oh, hey, Kaylin.
I thought we weren't supposed to use names here. Isn't that the whole thing about this place?
Nobody knows who you are.
Ooh, somebody's touchy.
Moon Poison, how are you feeling about the fact that your comrades, who they're all there, right, in different places, how are you feeling about the fact that no one is taking your sense of dread seriously?
So I'm getting a little miffed about it, and do I know Kaylin? Is Kaylin there kind of by accident? That we kind of ran it.
You all know you're all there. Whether you came together or not is irrelevant. You all know you're all there. So.
Okay, and so I guess I've been briefly introduced to Kaylin, and so I have finished my one bottle of wine that I was somehow able to procure before Voris was able to get anything, and then I go over to the wine guy, and for some reason, he's completely ignoring Voris and Kaylin, and then he sees me, and then he's immediately gives me another bottle of wine in front of Voris, and I'm like, thanks, and then I go over to Kaylin, and Voris, and I'm just like, guys, why aren't you scared? This is not.
I know, it's not right. He just gives you a bottle of wine for free, and I'm having to haggle just to get a small skin.
But that's not what I'm talking about. And then she glugs down some wine, between the beak of the owlbear skull, and just like she's just like, Kaylin, you believe me, right? There's something going on here.
And Kaylin says, "Well, I don't feel anything. I think he'll get down on one. You're short, right? You're a gnome."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so he'll get down on
I'm
one.
a bit gnome. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll get down on one knee to presumably, I guess, be more at your eye level, if that's the way it works, and to talk to you that. And he says, I don't feel anything. Why do you? Although I guess I have awareness, but I don't know if you use that. I don't recall how you actually use that. But what are you feeling?
I feel like I'm being watched and that someone wants to hurt me.
Why would someone?
Voris like crouches down in front of Moon Poison. He's like, and he puts his hands on her shoulders. He's like, Moon Poison, look, I know that you're an ugly, stinky dumpster gnome, and you feel like everyone hates you, and you're really uncomfortable here. But I promise, nobody cares about short, little, stupid dumpster gnomes here. You can relax.
I mean, I guess you're kind of right, but the Hex King lives in the city now, and he hates me.
Well, why didn't you come backstage with me for the next act?
Okay, all right.
That way you won't be out in front of everybody's eyes. You'll be able to watch the play anyway.
Oh, you're so positive.
I think Kaylin at that tosses his hair and says, "I try."
And Voris just like looks over to Kaylin and puts like covers his mouth from letting Moon Poison sin. He's just like, "Thank you."
I see some people haven't changed at all.
Osmodeus comes wandering up at this point, and he's procured a bucket of this fake blood, and he's like, "I have the solution, and no one will recognize you as a traveler now." He's like offering to like pour it all over you, so that way you're just like covered in red, and you wouldn't look like a gold person or like a dumpster gnome in particular.
I think like I don't really notice, and you just pour it over me anyway. And I'm just kind of like, oh.
Now you fit right in.
Indeed. The lanterns are dimmed. It's time for the final act. Does everyone? So it sounds like Moon Poison and Kaylin are now back behind. Osmodeus is still front row center, and Voris, you're going back up to the box. All right. So
I think that Voris probably stayed down with Osmodeus.
Okay. So, Act 3 goes on for a bit, gradually builds up to our big, builds to a crescendo, right? There's a lot of like on-stage chases going on, various bits of dramatic action. Score is really, really ramping up here, right? The practical effects that they have managed at the Merry Abattoir get to be really sophisticated and quite unlike anything any of you have ever seen on stage before. At one point, during the middle of a particularly frenzied scene, as the music is, like how the music kind of does a little like bum 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 pa bum 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 pa, fanfares like that, right? With every cymbal hit, with every loud crash, a member of the chorus like seizes up, and their hands spread out to the sides, and their neck goes up, and their mouth opens up, and a massive fountain-like gout of blood and viscera just spews directly up onto the stage and rains down on everyone. Bum, 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 bah, and then just guts flying everywhere. Bum, 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 bah, and then your guts are flying everywhere again. Velgna Humpel. The audience is really into it. Velgna Humpel. our star, who can't see any of that going on behind her, gets ready for to hit her big high note, right? She's quite a big woman. And she, she goes in and she's doing her big, loud, piercing note. And as she does so, her mouth stretches open and an arm comes right up out of her gullet. Just an arm and a hand, like sticking out of her mouth. And this is kind of when the audience thinks something weird is going on. Another arm pushes its way out of her mouth, covered in slick, wet viscera, skeletal, you'll notice, draped in rags. And these arms that are now out of her massively distended mouth reach down, dig their nails into her skull. Those of you who are backstage can hear the cracking of these arms, fingernails piercing her skull, and in one fell swoop rips her in half, spraying blood all over the stage. I'm going to go around the table and find out what you all do. Moon poison.
So I'm backstage with Kaylin, and I see this up real close, and and I'm just like, I turn to Kaylin, and I'm just like, that was real, and I think it was aimed at me.
Everybody backstage is going crazy at this point, by the way. Your friend Kaylin those clearly weren't his special effects. There's a chaos is breaking out over the audience as well, right? Everyone gets a little they're a little awestruck in the beginning, but then when they see this being tear Velkna Humpel in half and basically come out of her body, dripping with gore, they begin freaking out and are trying to get to the exits, right? They're stumbling all over each other, all that kind of thing. Kaylin, what do you do?
I think Kaylin. So Kaylin, let's see, what else does Kaylin have aside from the pole? I think Kaylin's going to bring the curtain down.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And maybe if there's any luck to this, maybe you can bring it down on top of this thing.
Yeah, maybe. Good call. We'll come back to that. Boris, what do you do?
He was clapping at first, but when he realized that it wasn't part of the show, he sighed, and then he's like, "Oh, come on, Ozzy, let's go and check out what's going on." Pretty much drags Asmodeus backstage, or onto the stage and to go through the curtain.
Asmodeus, what about you?
Is it the being on stage?
The being is on stage. It's a Hex King.
Yeah, I'm not
the Hex King
going on stage with you boys.
It's the fucking Hex King.
To find the others then.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm trying to blend in with the crowd a bit here, and but staying on the edge so I can keep observing and not fleeing quite as.
You begin to hear screaming from the back of the house. If you quickly turn your back, you'll see that the entrances into the theater are being swarmed by zombified rooster rowdies. They're all pressing forward into the halls, clawing and tearing at the various assembled people. Yeah, that's what's going on. The Hex King is on stage at this point alone. The whole stage is in a sort of sickly green light that seems to have emanated from nowhere. And as the drips away from his body, you see him for what he is. He's dressed in flimsy black rags. He has a sort of driftwood crown cocked, askance on his skeletal head, right? And he raises up. And now I'm going to roll a die of fate. The die of fate is going to determine essentially who the Hex King is here for. If you're lucky, he's here to kill the Burgomaster, and you guys can slip out the back or fight your way out. If you're unlucky, he's here for one of you. So let's just see how that goes.
Can somebody give a little backstory on what the Hex Master is? Sorry, the Hex King.
He's the ruler of Bel. He was the ruler of Belet Osk, deposed by several of our present party members. He took up residence in spirit form in Vornheim.
So theoretically undead.
He's definitely undead. Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Let's get our roll for your party room. Oh, there it is. Okay. Die of fate is a 2. Sorry, moon poison. So, and Voris too, really, and Osmodeus to a slightly lesser degree, but so that's all going on. All right, so just to reframe where everybody is, Caleb, you were going to try to bring down the curtain on top of the Hex King, right? That's the idea. Plan. Give me an intelligence roll. I think that's more of a quick thinking thing than anything. So.
Okay, intelligence of 0. This can't go poorly, can it? Dun, dun, dun. Selected. Ooh, I got an 11.
Oh, nice. That'll work. It'll buy you some time. What does it look like?
So I find the rope that that holds the curtain up, and it's tight. It's wrapped around one of those pins, and I'm unwrapping it and wrapping it, and then I realize, and I pause just in time to realize if I time it right, I might get it to come down on top of him. And then I let it go, and it drops, and hopefully it smacks him and knocks him down.
I think we just see the curtain like collapse. He is standing kind of right beneath it, right? I think he stepped forward to. He actually made like a sort of threatening gesture toward the burgomaster, who's in the front row, and the curtain comes down, and yeah, we just see it like collapse down on top of him like in a heap. We don't know what happens to the Hex King at that point. I think the curtain is coming down right as you guys who are in the audience. You'll see the curtain come down. You'll see the zombies behind you who are attacking the people. Some of the people in the boxes begin to float as if they're flying in the middle of the air as well. They begin to make like a sort of a circular cordon around the open air above the audience. There's about 6 of them. I will restate my question. Forrest, what do you do?
Goodness, there's zombies coming in. There's floating box people,
and the Hex King under the curtain on the stage.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and. Is there any way that I can like look at the people floating in the air and get an idea of what kind of magic they're using?
Yeah. Give me a wisdom roll.
Okay. That is a 6.
A 6. I'll give you your answer. The burgomaster stands up. His guards are trying to get him out, but those 6 floating people, you see them. They've made this like circular sort of circle in the air, and you notice that the circle is actually like hovering over the burgomaster. They each throw their heads back and let out like a hissing sound, and you see big long fangs in their mouth, and the burgomaster screams, and there are just several gouts of blood coming out of the burgomaster's body, out of his ears, out of his eyes, out of his mouth, flying in all directions like a stream into the mouths of these 6 flying beings. So we just see this like, it's almost the beautiful fountain sprinkler of blood going directly into these creatures' mouths as the burgomaster is being drained of his life force, and he will be dead in moments. Osmodeus, what do you do?
I mean, we have no loyalty to the burgomaster or anything like that. Like,
not. Nope.
Yeah, I think I'm more concerned with the Hex King. I think that it's all come crashing back to me what happened, and I'm going to drink a dose of Quicksilver and try and make something happen here to to help us.
Okay. What's your plan, or what's your magic? What are you going to do? Which spirit are you going to summon?
I'm going to try and summon Speculo. the spirit of reversals and mirrors. And we've been watching this play, and this whole traveler's business has been on my mind. And I'm going to try and make a mirrored version of the Hex King to throw against him.
Like a sort of like
one that would just pop up out of gold paint and
oh nice, echoing the story. That's good. To attack him, I guess that's pretty good. Yeah. I like that. I like how the play informed your thinking on this magic. So in a way, roll plus I guess plus int.
So 8.
8 was the result?
8 is the result.
All right. So the intended result was you would create this gold Hex King who would attack the Hex King that's currently under the curtain. So if that Hex King, once he untangles himself, he'll have to cope with that gold Hex King that you've created, right? I think that's super interesting. I'm gonna just go with the sort of I think the interesting thing here is, and it's something you have no control over whatsoever, is whatever implications it has for the world, this gold Hex King is forever.
He's permanent.
Yeah. So who knows what that means?
So now they're 2 Hex Kings, basically, yes?
Jesus fucking Christ.
What does this magic look like, though? Describe this magic, Asmodeus.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a Quicksilver dose, so like it happens in very, very quickly. It doesn't take me my normal amount of time. So I have like the vial and I shoot it, and then I look at the stage and I see the like struggling under the curtain, and I look at like a pool of gold paint, and like a similar struggling starts to happen on the gold paint, and then like this Hex King like breaks free and looks like very lavish, like the gold figures did in the play. And like my eyes get kind of wide, like I wasn't sure that would work. And I also kind of think maybe I figured out the way like to travel or whatever that I've been like studying this play to try and figure out, but who knows if that's the case. And then I think like the gold figure just like leaps onto the curtain that's thrashing.
Moon Poison, if not for the aid of your companions, you know for a fact that the Hex King proper would have turned and cast his gaze on you, and it'd have been big time danger. But you've got a moment here. What do you do with it? You got more than a moment. The Hex King is definitely distracted and coping with things.
Let's get out of here now. I'm mad at you again, Asmodeus, but let's get the fuck out of here. We gotta go. We gotta go. Come on, Kaylin. Come on, Forrest. Let's go. I told you. You didn't listen to me. And here's what happens when you don't listen to me.
If you guys leave out of the back of the house, you can leave safely. In fact, much of the crew and stuff and the actors are running right now. Leaving out of the front of the house where all the Rooster Rowdy zombies are is not possible, or at least it would be incredibly dangerous. So are you bolting, Moon Poison? Is that it?
Yeah. I'm gonna just like I'm gonna run, and I'm gonna try to like I grab, someone's hand, and I'm just like, let's go, and then I just start going.
Nice.
Getting out of here. There's 2 fucking Hex Kings.
Is everyone else running? Kaylin, are you running?
First question. So, when the curtain came down, so we're separated from the audience. Which side of the curtain is the Hex King on? Sounds like he's probably on.
I think the Hex King is under the curtain. I think it literally dropped on top of them. So.
Okay, so.
And I think it came crashing down too, so you can still see the audience. It's like the whole thing just crashed in a bundle on top of him.
Okay, so theoretically he's down.
Mm-hmm. And now he's got this gold Hex King
on the other side, but I can't see that. Yeah. I think Kaylin's going to quickly use a leather, I don't know what you call it, lace or something like to tie back his hair so it doesn't get in the way. Pull out a dagger. I'm assuming he can have one of those. It's just like or a small knife. And run up to the legs of the Hex King and turn him.
Interesting. So let's reframe that scene a little bit, just so we can have a better sense of what this looks like. I think what's going on is we have this. You can see the gold Hex King, because I think the whole curtain, like, it came off its like attachments, like the whole thing came down. It's not like hanging; it's like crashed down. And I think as we fast forward in time a little bit, I think we see the gold Hex King and the sort of like viscera covered, black Hex King, for lack of a better word. We see them like basically engage in a sort of struggle, like they're clasping each other, and the gold Hex King is new magic, and he's maybe he won't win this fight, but you see an opportunity to go up and like to help out, to like really put the black Hex King away, so to speak. So you're just going to go up and just do the power of your turn and hope that does the trick. I am here for it.
Yeah, and so he'll tell Moonpoint, says, I got this. I'll cover your exit. I think I can do this. But Freya's cock, this is gonna work. It's gotta work.
What do you say as you rush up? Like, what do you invoke? How do you get this going?
By the bounty of Freya, may Freya's life fill you and send you to where you belong.
Interesting. Roll plus wisdom.
And this is where he botches it, right?
Oh, I can't wait. Let me assure you.
An 8.
Okay. Okay. It's going to work. I'm going to hold I'm holding my move for the sort of finale here. Okay. Which is going to go a certain way. I'm going to take the fiction there. I think you run up, you say that. I think the proper Hex King had the advantage over the gold Hex King. The gold Hex King was maybe like down and like kind of like cowering or whatever, or like vulnerable. And you go up and you say that, and it causes the black Hex King to shriek. He just like lets out this ghostly howling shriek, and it causes him to back off, and that gives the gold Hex King, who, mind you, looks just like the Hex King but dripping in gold. He stands up. His crown is gold, not driftwood. He stands up and he does a similar deal as what happened to Velgna Humpel. He puts his skeletal hands on the black Hex King and digs his nails into the black Hex King's skull, and you hear the cracking again. And as he cracks into the skull, you see little beams of green light like piercing out of the skull, and then eventually he just tears him in half, sending bones and viscera, the exterior viscera, and his robes scattering in just a flash of green light, right? And so that's what happens. Vorus, what do you do?
How's that king guy doing?
The black Hex King is done.
Not the Hex King, the guy in the audience.
Oh, the Burgomaster? Yeah, he's going to be dead if you don't do this. If you don't do something about it, the Burgomaster's going to be dead. So it's just whether you care about that or not.
Yeah, I think what I do is my dragon's the size of a small dog, right?
Is he there?
He could be in my bag. Never mind. I think what I do is oh man, I don't want to take on a whole group of flying vampires though. I feel like that's suicide.
Running is an option.
Yeah, I think what I do is yeah, I just run to join the others. Because yeah, I think that guy is fucked.
As long as you're running away from the zombie bravos and the chaos and run toward that, you can escape.
Yeah, I think I'll join the others.
Asmodeus, once this is all sorted, what do you do?
Yeah, I think I'd probably be like grabbing Kaelin after he has invoked his deity, and I'm like, we should really beat a hasty exit now, don't you think?
I thought it was going well. Come on, I can do this again.
I'm like, no, that one's temporary anyways. Let's just get out of here.
It's temporary. You guys can run.
Because I probably think he is temporary.
So I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
The driftwood crown.
Yeah.
Does it fall to the floor anywhere near me?
Would you like to grab it?
I would love to grab that driftwood crown.
You can definitely take the Hex King's driftwood crown.
All right.
Sounds like a great idea, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wait, so Moonwood Poison deserted Kaelin, but then when the crown fell, came back for it? Is that what I'm hearing?
I didn't desert you. I didn't run yet. I was grabbing you, asking you to run, and then you went the other opposite direction, and I'm just like, and then you did something that worked, and I'm just fucking dumbfounded. But then I'm like, oh, the Hex King's crown is there. That might come in handy since there's another Hex King now.
Well, I really am feeling your faith in me here. That worked, surprisingly. Yeah, okay.
Well, you know, Kaelin, what's a goddess anyway? You know, the Hex King's real, clearly, and your magic is interesting, but I'm gonna get this crown, and I was right about everything. Remember that, Kaelin.
And that conversation is happening on the way out the back door. A coda to this scene. This is out of character knowledge. This is just for the home viewing audience. The 6 vampires see that their master has been destroyed, and they see this strange gold Hex King. They don't know what to do about that. They eventually figure out, though, that the gold Hex King is an enemy, and so they fly toward him. They fly toward the gold Hex King, and the gold Hex King just raises up his hands, and out of his mouth and out of his fingertips, just massive, bright, hot, golden beams fly out of his fingers and mouth and just incinerate all 6 of the vampires as if they were like just incinerates them. The same deal with the zombie bravos. Beautiful, you know, I think what happens is some of for reasons unexplained, some of the gold painted cast members come onto the stage. The orchestra picks up again, and we have the big finale. There's a big like crashing and we see the gold Hex King there in the middle, triumphant and glorious, and the whole thing just fills with bright golden light, and all the zombie bravos just fall away. So let's talk about the adventure proper. Then we'll have our break.
That was the appetizer?
That was the appetizer. That was the aperitif. Forrest's family, the Malbrosias, they own a vast estate called Dofin. I will type that here for you. They own a vast estate called Dofin. Dofin consists of a great mansion, also called Dofin, and the lands surrounding it, including a little village called Serviteur. I'll type that in as well. Anyone born within the borders of Dofin, including the entire village of Serviteur, are the property of Vorus's family. By law, they are born serfs, property of the Malbrosias. That's a thing to know. And the people of Serviteur live in a state of sort of fawning terror when it comes to the Malbrosias. Vorus's family at Dofin presently consists of his 3 brothers, Vorgan, Aris, and Tethys. I'll type that in. Vorgan is your twin brother, by the way, Vorus. Morgan, Aris, and Tethys are the three brothers about your age, maybe a little older, a little younger on either side, who still live at Dofin. You have many brothers and sisters who are spread like seeds in the wind, right? And their grandfather, the wheelchair-bound Melfin. Those four people are the only people who are presently in residence at Dofin. Melfin is officially the head of the household, but for practical purposes, Aris is the head of the household, that brother. Okay. Voris believes there is a wizard's Seclusium somewhere on Dofin. He wishes to discover its location and claim its power for himself, or at least get involved in that aspect of the family business, he believes, right? I think this is also a little sketchy. Is that a fair assessment of things for us?
Yeah.
You all have chosen to go with him, ostensibly for that purpose, but maybe other purposes too. Establishing questions before we go on break. For Voris, when you were young, you and your brothers would often ride into Servitor, the little village, where you are practically worshipped and they fear you intensely. And while you were there, whenever you would ride into the village, you guys would engage in all manner of cruel sport against the people of Servitor. Sort of family tradition, if you will. But you stopped when someone you cared for in the village got hurt in a certain way. Who was this person and what happened to them? That's what I want to know. For Kaelin, you know of a secret ancient history of the lands in and around Dofin. Tell us that history. Why is it so important for you to travel to these lands? Moon poison. Something about these lands, which are not terribly far away from Beladosk, if I'm being honest. Something about these lands, about Dofin, maybe the mansion, who knows. But there is a sort of a foundational myth about your people associated with these lands. I just want to know what that is. And Osmodeus. The Seclusium rumor is absolutely true. It is absolutely true. Mystery solved. The reason why you know it's true is because even though you were never in the lands themselves, you, at some point in your history, you were a servant of said wizard in some other place that the wizard traveled to. But you know that that's where the wizard's Seclusium was, even though you yourself had never made it there. I want to know what the nature of that relationship was. I want to know when the wizard went missing. And we can just call him the wizard for now. We'll get to his name later. But when the wizard went missing, and he probably went by different names, when the wizard went missing, what was the nature of your relationship and why didn't you go try to find him? That's what I'd like to know. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. You guys have any questions about those? All right. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll see what that's all about.
Chris desperately tries to finish his homework assignment. History of Dofin.
It's nice to be playing with you again, Chris.
Yeah. It is nice, Jennifer. I don't know how we've missed that, how we haven't intersected since.
I know, it's weird. Like, it's been, a year and a half since we played together.
Has it been a year and a half since we played Stone Top?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah,
But
that's a long time.
But I'm glad it's finally happening. Huh?
Yes. And was I the one that lured you into the gauntlet? Did I lure you into the gauntlet?
I don't think so. I think we both kind of like happened upon it independently. And I was still playing occasionally with Ari for a while, but then we started playing Fellowship, and I hated it. I really don't like that system at all. Oh, it's like too PBTA. It's just too much. It's just like so procedural and no games. No like actual like what I like about playing games, right? So
yeah, that one didn't work for me very much either. I'm willing to give it another shot, but it just didn't flow for me.
Yeah. I like World of Dungeons because I find it's like better as a story game than any other story game I've ever played, which is funny because it's ostensibly OSR, but I don't know. I find it more story-centric than a lot of PBTA games I've played.
Have you played The Veil yet?
But maybe I've just played with Jason. No.
That one's really interesting with the way that emotions decide everything. As in that the emotions decide your stats. Emotions basically are your stats. So any move you do, you have to decide what emotional state you're in when you do it.
Huh.
Which makes you really think. It is, which really makes you think about it. And then the other interesting thing about it is the playbooks. I'm assuming you did this on purpose. You can end up snowballing your moves off of each other accidentally. We had one where we had 7 moves trigger off of 1 move in order. It worked really well. It was very interesting.
Philip, are you there? We're waiting on you. He's working on Philip. That was a pretty wild first sequence, huh?
Yeah.
I hope I didn't derail your story too much there.
I had nothing in particular in mind. Basically, once the Hex King made his appearance, it was all on you guys.
I realized, did Jason remember I'm playing a cleric?
Oh no, I loved it. I mean, you destroyed one Hex King to replace him with a better gold one. So
I know the new and improved Hex King.
New and improved gold Hex King.
Hex King 2.0.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. He's totally temporary.
Hey.
It's made out of paint.
Did you get any of that gold paint? By the way, did you get a bucket of gold paint on your way out, Osmodeus?
No, I doubt it.
Okay. XP reward for the last sequence. Okay. Oh well, no, not that difficult a calculation. I will tell you that the bulk of this XP reward comes from Moon Poison grabbing the Driftwood crown of the Hex King. So you have Moon Poison to thank for that, because otherwise it would not have been nearly as good. But because she did, you're each getting 825. And a reminder, if you hit a flag, you get 10% of whatever you need between your 2 levels, whatever that amount is. That's you get 10% of that.
Oh, I totally hit Moon Poison's flag.
Oh yeah.
But don't worry about we'll do flags at the end. But for now, you get 825. If you leveled up, you can go ahead and level as well. So. And I think a couple of you might, because I think Vorus was pretty close.
What was that amount of XP that we got?
825. And yeah, you were pretty close, Vorus. You were within a couple hundred, so you're over it. And Osmodeus, you're going to level too. So just get out your World of Dungeons rules and see what you get for your new level, and we'll take care of that real fast before we continue. I will enjoy my coffee while you guys level.
Mine's easy. I just get another damage die. So I think that means that I just add 1d6 to whenever I attack.
Yep, you just yeah. Is that what it says?
I don't know. It's just in the grid, and it has a damage column that says plus 1d6.
Oh yeah, so all your attacks do an extra d6. Yeah. Just make a note wherever you need to.
Okay, will do.
5.
Does leveling increase your hit dice? You're muted, Jason.
It increases the amount you get to keep when you roll your hit dice, but it does not increase your hit dice. The only thing that increases your hit dice is your con score and whatever you end up with as a result of leveling. So.
Okay.
So if you increase your con, that'll give you another.
Yeah, if you increase your con, you get one more hit die. Yeah.
I have 2 cons, so if it's supposed to be 3, 4. Yeah, no, I have the right amount. 5.
You guys can also reroll hit points if you wish. You don't have to if you like your score, but if you wish, you can.
Yeah,
I might.
I don't think I've got better odds like rolling 3 dice and trying to beat 11.
I'll reroll mine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's like, yeah, it's just going to be average out to the same.
Oh, we lost Jennifer.
Oh man, I got worse. That's awful.
Oh no, it's great because I might have to heal you.
I lost 2 HP, even though I have an extra hit dice that I can keep.
When everyone's ready to go, just give me a thumbs up.
Yep.
Okie doke. Let's get these questions answered. Okay, so I'm just going to go in order that I like here. Kaylin.
Okay, so
You know of a secret ancient history of these lands in and around Dofin. What is it?
I do, because this is very important to my religion. Freya fought a great battle here way back when, before this was ever Vorus's family area. And Freya was killed here. But a drop of their blood fell, and they were reborn from that drop of blood. The battle was very dramatic. Everybody died, lots of deaths. So I'm sure that the farmers just every once in a while come up like with skulls or whatnot in there. Skulls or old weapons can show up in the farmlands. The enemy, though, is a nameless god, because it was a god of cold logic, order and emptiness and apathy and things like that. Sort of the antithesis of Freya, and that's why that battle is so important and significant.
Why is it important for Kaelin to go there? Just a pilgrimage or anything more than that?
Well, A, he's surprised there's not a temple here. So he thinks there's something more about it. And from his travels, he's found slight variations on the different legends. So he thinks there's more here than just that story. It's probably, he realizes there's obviously magical significance to this area. That seems to be one of the themes. And so he wants to find out because A, it's sort of a pilgrimage, but he doesn't think everything's all that simple. He's not that happy-go-lucky surfer dude that he was 3 years ago. So don't know if you want any more, but that was like the gist of it. I think most.
No, that's perfect. I like it. That's very ancient history. Let's talk about a little further up on the timeline. Asmodeus. Yep, there's a Seclusium here. That's true. You know this because you know of the wizard who inhabit those lands, who no longer does, but used to. What's your relationship with that wizard, and why did you not go after them when they went missing?
So you said that I was like a servant of this wizard.
You had some sort of connection with him. You can define it however you wish. But
okay. So I think we were colleagues, working in similar fields. I was working on this growth and like vegetation based magics for the purpose of avoiding like the unnecessary killing. Like ostensibly that's the reason why. Like I think there's probably more to it than that. And this wizard was working on harnessing the power of crystals and rock and that sort of thing. So
you cut out briefly, David. Say that again.
This wizard was working on harnessing the power of crystals and rock. So that's, a similar thing where there isn't like significant death involved. So they were very different fields, but like adjacent cause-wise. And I think the real cause of it isn't necessarily like the avoiding death or anything like that. It's more like if we could figure out how to do it magics using only these things, imagine what we could accomplish if we needed to use blood or bone or things like that. Like surely this foundational level would make us more powerful wizards in the end.
Oh, I like it. So it's almost like, why go straight to the blood stuff when you can build up a better foundation and then go to the blood stuff?
Yeah.
I like that.
So they went missing.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so they went missing. And I don't think I looked for them because like they were expecting to go missing. Like they were working on something that would have caused them to teleport or vanish for a long time anyways.
They're purposely away from the Seclusium then. That's good. All right.
Yeah,
I like that. Good. Make a little note in your character column that I'm going to give you 3 hold for this adventure. You can spend them to ask me a question about the lands of Dofin. Even though you were not super familiar with them directly, I think you had enough conversation with this wizard and you knew enough about where he came from and what he was doing to learn some things about it. Okay.
Okay.
Terrific. Moon poison. There's I'm sorry. I'm not quite done with you, Asmodeus. It seems a little self-evident, but just to be clear, why are you going? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, I'm going to recover this wizard's research, or at least take a look at it.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Moon poison, foundational myth about the dumpster gnomes that you all believe have something to do with these lands. What is it?
So, I mean, I'm not sure whether it should be a foundational myth that I know or that is believed, but maybe it's something that is true.
It could be out of character. It's fine. Yeah.
but like, so my thought is that hundreds of years ago, when Belet Osk was but a, just like a poor farm, sort of that Vornheim used as a place to put their refuse and whatnot, and before the dumpster gnomes ever got there, I think there was on, and the name of the land again that Vorse's family is from.
Dauphin. It's the French word.
Dauphin.
The French word for prince.
Okay, so like Dauphin was this, like the Malaborgias had maybe semi-recently claimed this area as their own, and there was, a collection of goblins and gnomes that lived in that area, who were then enslaved by the Malaborgias. And after years of and they were kind of intermixed, interbred gnomes and goblins. And at one point in time, there was a slave revolt, and the Malaborgias put that down, but transported all of the rest of these dumpster gnomes, these goblin gnomes, to the poor farm of Belet Osk, where they have stayed for hundreds of years.
I like that very much, because I think it informs your revolutionary, rebellious urges in some way, right? Even if in a sort of primordial way, but I think it all kind of like swims together pretty good.
Right, the hatred of aristocracy, the slavery, all that.
The Malaborgias are a real bad aristocracy. They are, or Malabrojas, we should say. I love that name, by the way, because Mala is like bad in Spanish, and then Broja sounds like bro, so it's like bad bros. So I'm here for that. Question for Moon Poison: if the Malabrojas learn about who you are, or if they recognize you for what you are, would they consider you their property?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Voris has been treating me like shit like the entire time we've known each other. So like it is a good question. That I feel is
Voris,
better suited for Voris.
Do you secretly consider Moon Poison and her kind your property, your family's property?
I don't, but it's probably partly because I think that gnomes and goblins and the other little ones, I think that they're just so trivial and insignificant. Like, it's just like a funny little bit of trivia that they come from here, but like nobody cares about gnomes and goblins.
Interesting. That's your opinion, but I'm interested in the legal opinion. Like, what do the Malabrojas think? Yes.
I mean, it's probably part of the history that we're taught that the Malabroja family started out with a bunch of goblins and gnomes as their slaves when they first moved into this area.
I like the idea. There's probably like hereditary paintings and things.
That's what I was just thinking. There's probably a lot of imagery of these goblins and gnomes like holding platters, being in tables.
Right. Exactly. Very good. That's a good. That adds a lot of texture to this. I'm into it. Yes.
I have an idea.
Oh yeah, sorry.
There's a lot of like furniture in the home of the Malaborgias that's like sculptures of goblins and gnomes holding up a platter, and that's like a table.
Oh, I'm gonna do you one better, so don't worry.
Okay.
So let's. I like that, but and there will be some of that, I'm sure. Okay. Voris, when you were younger, considerably younger, you and your brothers used to ride into the little village on your family's lands and torment and otherwise engage in cruel sport to the villagers. You stopped doing that though when someone you cared about got hurt. What happened?
It was the stable boy. They totally had him drawn and quartered, I think. That's the phrase, right?
So he's dead then.
Yeah, he's dead. But it wasn't quick.
Oh, I see. It was like on the rack or whatever, right? They kind of like use the horses to like torture him or whatever. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
How well? So why was the stable boy so important to you?
Oh, he was totally my my trick.
Okay, secret lover. Good.
Secret lover in the village. I think maybe they found out, and that's why they did it.
Oh, that's good. I like that. So they discovered that you were like secret lovers with one of their slaves, functionally, and
right?
They punished you and him simultaneously. I like that.
Yeah, and I think the part of the reason wasn't that like we were having sex. It was that I was not treating him like a slave.
Right. Yeah. I like that idea.
It was like a consensual relationship.
Yeah. They don't care about the guy on guy part of it. They care about the fact that you were lowering your station, right? So
yeah.
That's interesting. These people are terrible. Does that person? Are there any vestiges of that person's family in the village?
I think that the stables are still there. And yeah, I imagine like his mother is probably like this really old woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. I need a couple of minutes to type these notes down and to kind of like take note of a couple things. If you guys need a bio break, this is a great time to take it, but otherwise it's just going to be a minute. So
I'm going to go grab more coffee.
We need stupid intermission music to play here.
Yeah, Varus was totally like, I'll lower my station however much I want to.
Yeah, I like the idea.
Probably why he.
Oh, good.
I was just like, probably why he isn't allowed to know about the Seclusium.
Yeah, this is why you aren't in the cult.
Yeah. What I think is really interesting about all this is we can see like why Varus is the man that he is, right? Like he's kind of like fundamentally a jerk, and it's just because he doesn't know how to be any other way. Like he's probably like the mildest outcome you can imagine in this family, right? Which I think is interesting.
Varus is relatively a really nice guy.
No, he's not. He's a total asshole.
In this family.
Oh yeah, relatively. Yeah, relative to other. True. Yeah, relative to his brothers, he is indeed a nice guy.
Yeah, like.
Haven't you killed some of your brothers too, though?
Yeah, one of the brothers.
I did kill.
One of the brothers was murdered. Yeah.
That was Lionel.
Yep.
Didn't you kill like an uncle too?
I don't know. I don't have that in my notes.
there are loads of you guys, so probably.
Yeah, the family's actually very extensive. It's just that a lot of people don't stay in Dofin.
Yeah.
Like our family has like ambassadors that they make people out of that they send off in the world, I think.
Yeah, it's almost like staying back at Dofin is almost like not like no one wants to do that, right? Like they want to get out there. The ones that stay, well, they probably stay for a reason. Right?
Well, someone has to, right? Yeah. And it's like the power seat, so like that's why. But I imagine like all the perks of being a member of the family come from, you know, like going out and being treated like an aristocrat, you know.
Right.
Plus, if you stay here, you have to deal with the rest of the Malbrosias.
Yeah, you have to manage.
I guess what I think is really interesting is like Moon Poison, like the fact that like Moon Poison is allied with Varus, despite the fact that in many ways Varus is like connected to like, you know, everything you're against. You know, I think that's really interesting.
Well, we have a healthy rivalry going on the whole time.
Yeah, and when push came to shove, we were on the same side against the Hex King, which is probably more of an enemy for Moon Poison than anyone.
Indeed.
Am I right?
Yeah. Clearly.
I mean, that conflict's over. The Hex King is destroyed, so good job.
One of them.
Oh, wait for Crystal to get back and then we'll get going. We won't be able to do too much more in this session, but yeah, we'll get things kind of moving down the road, I guess. I do think. I'm envisioning Dofin being like a really, really gnarly place, like a place like you may want to burn it down, right? By the time you're done. So,
is it opulent?
Maybe we'll find out. You all are making preparations to go to Dofin. You're still in Vornheim. Undefined number of days since the incident at the Merry Abattoir. It's not important for our purposes. Maybe you're getting your horse ready. Maybe you're getting, getting your things ready. You're staying at an inn, whatever. Who knows? A carriage pulls up. The carriage bears the insignia of Malbrosia. How do you know? What does the insignia look like for us? Like, how do you recognize it?
Yeah, I think it's like a goblet, a black goblet with smoke coming out of it.
Nice. Yeah, there's a carriage pulled by a few horses with a coach, or a coach really, like a closed coach, with a driver, big enough for all of you. Waiting, you see it out your window. What do you do?
Yeah. Our I guess we're all staying in like the inn that's in
Yeah.
that's in town.
Yeah, it's just some inn. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, and I turn to the others and I'm like, where's my cloak? Give me my cloak. I had it in here somewhere, and I'm like throwing things out of my bag, trying to find my cloak.
And I'm sitting on it, just like I'm sitting on it, like smoking a hookah with gosh, what's your
Kaylin?
name again? Kaylin. That's right.
Definitely. And Kaylin like picks up on this and like actually moves to like cover it a little bit more with like sort of a wicked glint in his eye.
And Osmodeus has no idea that you're both sitting on it, but he's like, it's probably in your pack. Keep looking.
Kaylin says, it's that nice fur-lined one, right?
It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And I actually grab like Kaylin's cloak that is like sitting somewhere, and I'm like, I need to use this, and I just like throw it over my head. So like the hood part, I guess, if it has a hood part.
Are you trying to not be recognized? Is that
yes, yeah.
I think Kaylin quirks an eye at that because Kaylin's cloak, Kaylin's doesn't have money. He's clean, right? He actually takes baths and washes his hair and all that. That's part of what he does. It's being clean and whatnot. He does that. So all his clothes are clean, but they're sort of threadbare. So it's not something that you would expect Vorus to take. So he quirks an eye at that, realizing that something's up. But doesn't say anything because he knows he's sitting on your cloak.
Yeah, and we know what the symbol is, right? We know,
sure.
like,
Yeah. I mean, the coach seems to have been sent to pick you up, right?
What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? This carriage seems like it's here for us, and plus, even if it's not, can't you pull some family strings and get us moving a little more comfortable down the road?
And I look to you, and I'm just like, yeah, you'll be a lot more comfortable in the castle, sure. and I get my pack together and go downstairs, and I'm going to try and see who's in the carriage.
If you go downstairs, and you're trying not to be recognized, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
The carriage is empty. There's no one. There's not a passenger in the carriage. The coachman, following something of a tradition of your family, the coachman, and this is how you know he was sent from your family, in case there was any sort of question whatsoever. But the coachman has had his mouth sewn shut because servants, when they're given a task, his task is to drive to Vornheim, pick you up, and go back. There's no reason to speak.
Yeah. So seeing there's no one in there, I like take off the cloak and throw it on the ground and like lean inside of the inn and say, come on, they're not here, it's okay.
So now we can take the carriage. Ugh.
I don't think you understand the implications when my family comes into town.
I understand the implications when you show up, but I guess I don't know the rest of them.
A little odd detail: you guys did not telegraph to Dofin that you were coming. So.
And yeah. Is the innkeeper here?
Sure.
Early
in the morning, it's the innkeeper. Name's not important, but early in the morning, it's a woman. She's probably like wiping down the bar or whatever.
Yeah. So I pull out my machete and I just like wedge it into the bar, like hack it down, and lean onto the bar and look in the innkeeper's face, and I'm just like, tell me, innkeeper, did you tell anyone that we were staying here?
And she kind of like puts her hands up and says, sir, I did not. I don't even. I can't say I even have memorized your names.
And I pull the machete out and point the tip at her. And as I'm holding the machete, I think she can see the Lionel's ring that I'm wearing. And I'm just with a family crest on it. And I'm just like, if I find out you did, I'll be back.
You get the impression she's telling the truth. So.
Yeah, I like pull on your arm. I'm like, get the knife out of the woman's face. Good Lord, like we're never gonna be able to stay anywhere in this town again if you keep pulling stunts like that.
Oh,
you should probably pay for the damage you did to the bar too. I'm just saying.
I'm not paying for that. I own it.
We're not in your city.
And I turn to him like, that's where you're wrong. And I like walk out the door.
I don't know what that means because
yeah, I look at Moon Poison and I look at. I'm like, did they take Vorenheim at some point? Did I miss that?
Dude,
we're not in Vorenheim anymore.
You're in Vorenheim, yeah.
Oh my god! I thought we were in the village.
No. You're in Vorenheim.
Okay, never mind.
I mean, your behavior wasn't completely out of character, so I'm not.
No, I mean, I think it totally works because Kaylin could chime in and say, I'm sure they have interests everywhere. They probably own a bar here, a tavern there. I mean, they've got to come out and go to whorehouses on occasion, right? So they probably own them to keep it quiet.
They gotta own the place, otherwise they won't be allowed to stay, I imagine.
There's that too. Hey, how do you like my new cloak? I just found it laying around.
Yeah, so seeing that there's no one in the carriage from his family, he'll go ahead and get inside. But yeah, he doesn't speak to the driver at all. I don't know if the others do anything.
The driver can't speak back, so
right. Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, like anytime they are given a task that does not require speaking, their mouth is sewn shut again.
It's a little unclear, but I think they, as a general matter, they just sew their servant's mouth shut.
Oh. I'm like, if you had questions for anyone, I'm just like following Varys in. I'm like, if you had questions for anyone, he probably has the answers, but whatever. None of my business.
And yeah, I'm like, and then like after I figure out what's going on, I'm like, I start packing all my shit together, and I'm just like, I'm getting out of this city. I'm getting out of this city. I'm getting out of this city. I'm coming with you. There's another Hex King here, and I just need to go.
He's temporary.
And I think that after Kaylin like gets in with my cloak on, like I don't even care because it's like I can get another one. But I've got this glass bottle of wine that they keep in these carriages. I've like taken it up and I'm pouring some. There's some like goblets in here that I'm pouring the wine into and passing around.
Nice. The carriage is very comfortable. It's pretty sumptuous. Sort of like plum colored velvet and nice woods covered, so you don't have to worry about the elements, which is nice. By carriage, it's probably about I'd say it's probably about a week and a half journey to Dofin. And then the carriage will stop periodically, so you guys can, wash up and make cook fire and all that kind of stuff. It will be a very comfortable journey as far as that goes. It'll be a safe journey, though. I'm gonna roll the die of fate to see how the journey goes. To what you might be looking forward to. The result was a 3. I think Aris, who is your brother, who is, for practical purposes, head of the family, and he's just a little bit older than you, for us. Aris, in his way, while providing this comfortable carriage for you to ride in, has also done a few little things to the interior or just something about the process that is meant to just be a slight discomfort or a sort of like a little fuck you, because that's the kind of guy he is. Just a couple of ideas from you guys, whatever you think.
The wine's cheap.
Ooh, good. I like that. Cheap wine.
I think that it's not something you would notice quickly, but as you're riding along, you're looking at the woodwork and the engravings and the woodwork, and it's all like really graphic torture
Like
scenes.
porn.
Torture porn, yeah.
Nice. Fucked.
So there is a, like, you know, there's like a lantern or a lamp inside the carriage, right? And it's literally made out of a centuries old dumpster gnome or goblin gnome skull.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good.
And I don't think it's actually like intended to make me mad. It's just bog standard for the Malabrosias to have goblin skull lamps.
Love it. David, any thoughts before I go? It's okay if not.
Dude, Forrest, this wine, I've had this before. Is your house having some sort of financial trouble?
And I look at you with like this almost. I look at you with this look, and I'm just like, no, I'm pretty sure this is intentional. Piss wine.
I think Kaelin spews it out when you say that.
And I'm looking at the stopper, and it's like suspiciously phallic shaped, and I'm like actually piss?
Well, there was that one time we pissed in the barrels, but that was a long time ago. Probably not the same batch.
Probably not. At a certain point on the journey, a few days in, the sun is high in the sky as the coach is ambling along. And then you realize you're not passing under any tree cover, but something has suddenly cast a shadow over the coach. You are aware of it pretty quickly. It's just a sort of like, oh, now something is blocking the sun. What do you do? Whoever wants to act first.
Yeah, I just peek my head outside, and I just like look up, expecting to see a really interesting looking crowd.
Say that again, Jennifer. You're coming in kind of fuzzy.
Oh yeah, is this better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Yeah, I peek my head outside, expecting to see a very interesting looking cloud.
You peek your head outside and you see shadows on either side of the coach, shaped like large leathery wings. And I think we'll stop the session there. Okie doke. Let's do our final XP reward. It's not much. It's just 50 more XP. So everyone gets 50 XP. And then if you believe you hit a flag, go ahead and call that out too.
Yeah, I hit Moon Poison's flag at the very beginning. By the wine guy.
Yeah, I hit Kaelin's, and I was disputing his
ability to actually like.
Yeah, Jennifer, we can't understand you. You're doing a weird scratchy thing. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, whatever you're doing, it's really dramatically different.
Okay. Yeah, I think I hit Kalen's when I was kind of really kind of like dubious about his being able to actually do anything about the Hex King, and being really surprised that he had any power at all about that.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think of it that way. You did it so subtly.
Indeed. No, I like it personally. Good. So whatever. So basically, we just have to see what the difference is between your levels, and that's how much. 10% of that is what you get XP wise. So,
so if I need 1,500 to level up, and the previous level was 10,000, then, or if I need 15,000 and the previous was 10,000, then it's 10% of 5,000.
It's 10% of 5,000, so you get 500 XP. Right.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And then I was trying to hit Moon Poison's flag, treating her poorly due to her heritage, behavior, and appearance.
Oh yeah, you were doing a fair bit of that. I agree. If Moon Poison does, I think that's good.
Yeah, everybody's good at that.
It's an easy one. And what you were going from? You're going from
6,000 to 10,000. So I guess 400 is my XP.
Yeah, you get 400 XP. And did you hit one, Kalen? No. Okay.
Yeah, I went through them all. No, I didn't.
No problem. Cool. We're done. I will be on Discord if you guys want to chat. Okay. Give me like 2 or 3 minutes.